Hi, everybody. I'm PJ Kwong for SGS Live. And in today's session, we will discuss the current and upcoming trends related to climate change that will shape organizations and society in general. We will also address SGS's ambitious actions to reduce the group's carbon emissions through science-based practices and how we support entities around the world to promote a low carbon economy through our sustainability solutions. For this fascinating conversation, I am joined by three subject matter experts. The first is Paola Ordonez, who is the Global Head of Corporate Sustainability. Paola is responsible for embedding sustainability across the organization, leading the group's sustainability strategy worldwide and the non-financial reporting. Paola, thank you for being here. What else can you tell me about your role?
Hi, PJ, and greetings, and thank you so much for inviting me. In my role, what I am in charge of is identifying ESG priorities across SGS. I am in charge as well of developing and implementing cross-function initiatives related to sustainability that hopefully will increase the value to society that an organization as SGS has.
You know, it's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, and it's super interesting. So our next expert is Jillgermain, who's the Global Vice President of Sustainability Solutions. Jill, thanks for joining us. And what else can you tell me about your recently created role?
Hello, PJ and everybody else. Paula, nice to see you as always. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, my role is newly created, though the services at SGS are not newly created. There's a long history in the organization of across the globe, across industries, about bringing forward these sustainability solutions. And my role is now brought in to create a bit of an umbrella function, bring some focus, take the best learnings from different industries and different regions to the rest of the group. So I'm looking forward to that.
This is going to be a great conversation, as I mentioned. Okay, last but not least, we're joined by Francesca Cerchia, the Global Service Manager, Industries and Environment. Francesca is the global lead of SGS Climate Change Solutions. Can you tell me about your role in supporting companies, Francesca?
Yes, of course, and thanks a lot for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with Paola and Jill. I'm really excited. What I help companies to navigate the so-called challenges of the zero net. And this means a lot of things, but fundamentally, we want to support companies, first of all, understand what does zero net means? What does climate neutral mean? What does carbon neutral mean? There's a lot of confusion out there and a lot of jargon and acronyms. And then we support them through standards and best practice to reach their targets, whatever they are, as long as they stop moving along a journey.
Okay, ladies, let's get right into it. As Jill indicated, earlier this year, SGS launched its Sustainability Solutions Framework, which offers an extensive portfolio of services to help companies on their sustainability journey, including services to promote a low-carbon economy. What would you say is the added value that SGS brings to its clients with these low-carbon services? How about Jill? Let's start with you.
What I feel the group has to offer across the board is really the breadth of the expertise. There are people, 93,000 employees, colleagues I think we have spread across the globe in different regions, in different industries. So taking those learnings from the boots on the ground, seeing what is really happening day to day in there is the ability to see this bigger picture and understand how do we actually get in and solve the day-to-day problems that then ladder up into the larger ones that society is facing.
You know what, Francesca, given your background, I'm wondering if you have anything to add.
Well, yes, of course. I mean, obviously, we cover a wide spectrum of industries. I would say pretty much all of them. If you look at our business divisions, we range from natural resources to oil and gas to energy, food, pharma, biotech. So we do have expertise, not just in the industry specific, but we have expertise in the country. We understand the language and we understand local regulations. And we provide a series of services across all branches of sustainability. So we can do carbon footprints or verify those carbon footprints. We can do energy audit. We can green your buildings. We can map your supply chains. And we can add on, the human rights, the labor, anything that we do really fits into the wider sustainability spectrum.
Okay, if we're talking climate change, and it's increasingly defining the reality in which companies are operating, I'm going to go back to you, Jill, for a moment. What are, from your point of view, the main barriers that companies are facing in integrating sustainability into their daily management?
I think one of the main ones, especially for companies that are just starting, is there are so many things you could focus on today. That's the good news. It's the hard news. The good news about it is the sustainability and ESG committees or communities and industries have evolved to have this wide breadth, this wide ability. But the thing I've seen companies struggle with the most when they step into this space is, I want to do it all. I want to do it all next week. I want to do it all really fast. And they may begin too quickly, or maybe not match to their values and to their company priorities enough. And it becomes overwhelming and they don't know the next step to take. So I think, again, where SGS is really great, and I've learned a lot from my colleagues already, is how do we bring those clients on their journey? How do we show them what is step by step the best way to go, and give them almost the permission to say not yet to some things and prioritize here? Because otherwise it's a lot of initiatives that start to compete internally.
I suspect, I suspect with everybody's background that you all have something to add. So go ahead, Paola.
Yeah, no, I wanted to emphasize the accuracy and the veracity of what Jill is saying. I mean, I put myself in, obviously, my shoulders. I implement a sustainability program within an organization, a big corporation, and definitely to prioritize the topics, it's really critical for the organizations, because we have ESG covers many aspects, and organizations really need to know how to prioritize and how to walk the journey of sustainability. Okay, sustainability is a journey and evolves over time. I would say that something else that is very challenging is to get a comfort zone in the accuracy of the data that you collect. Okay, so the ESG data is not in an accounting system. It still requires a lot of manual efforts, and sometimes it's a challenge to get the accuracy of this data. But over and over, we are seeing more consistent systems that helps decision makers to take more or less ambiguous decisions, no? And that's very important. And finally, and I wanted to highlight something concerning the topic that in particular we are talking today, the carbon footprint. What I experience is that measuring everything that needs to be measured in a carbon footprint is a journey that it's mid and long term. Okay, it implies many sources of information that you need to collect, and that's a challenge for the organizations as well, especially when you move to scope 3 emissions. But I'm sure that Francesca knows very well about this.
Yeah, no, I like the way Paola frames it. I mean, the concept of the journey is absolutely perfect, because it is a journey. And we can't tell if it takes a year, if it takes 10 years or 15 years, or if we'll get to 2050 and we'll have reached those targets. And I think the point of the data is extremely valuable. So if we look at climate change specifically, we know that it all starts from measuring your emissions, and data is crucial. So what we do and the way we help company is to improve on a year-by-year basis, gaining more granularity on the data they collect, improving that quality of that data, and setting in place systems to manage that data. And it's through that we'll actually reach consistency and ability then to move on to the next level, which is, have it verified.
Okay, so Paola, another point to mention is how to integrate the risks and opportunities assessment associated to climate change. So how is SGS in particular addressing this concern?
Thanks, PJ. That's a very interesting question. Very, very hot potato. Huh? Has been, I mean, embedding climate change risk and opportunities has been in the agenda of the investors in the recent years. And in SGS, we have worked on this since 3-4 years already. So what we are doing is that we are using the task force for climate-related financial disclosures principle. So we have started embedding climate change risk and opportunities evaluation into our risk management system that is globally deployed. We are also working on climate change scenarios to see how these scenarios will affect our company and the services that we provide to our clients. And yeah, it has been a long journey because it involved changing the culture and educating the financial community and operational people in the countries on topics and concepts that they are not so familiar with. So it's a journey as well. It's something that takes time, but that is really, really important and is under the radar from all the investors, led especially by BlackRock and the CEO that has been pushing very hard for the innovation of this type of frameworks.
Paola, you were worried about the hot potato. You did great. I knew that this topic would be of huge interest to our audience. And if we take a quick look at the comments, we can see people from literally everywhere. And we'd like to say a quick hello and a quick welcome to everybody in the audience who's joined us today for this fascinating topic. Okay, Francesca, as the comments are going to scroll across the screen with who's coming from where and saying hello, I want to go back to you. And that is, it's a double-barreled question. What will be the main trends in sustainability and specifically in climate change in the coming years? How is the regulation in this regard going to evolve?
Okay, thanks. This is not double barrel. This is $1 million question, but in any event, I think that if we look at the trends, I mean, the trends are need to scale up existing solutions from a technology point of view. So everything that will help in reducing the emissions, I'm thinking hydrogen, I'm thinking carbon capture and storage, and also critically advance on possible other solutions that may not exist today at full scale. And one thing that comes to mind could be technologies that would help get more granular monitoring, in particular on methane emission. A second trend could be that of potentially having developed economies such as Europe, and we know Europe is a little bit the engine for climate change today, help or encourage either with, the border tax or with other means, develop economies to decarbonize as well. And as I mentioned, the carbon tax, maybe this is part of the package of regulation that sits within the European Fit for 55. And somehow it concentrates in avoiding or managing the carbon leakage. On top of that, as we know, we also have the EU taxonomy, and the EU taxonomy as well, it's calling into play the big finance on reporting their climate impacts. We know that for the time being, or initially, it will only focus on the, let's say, the large emitters, and the other companies may decide not to report and maybe be at a disadvantage to a certain extent. So I think there are two main avenues. One is technology, and the other one is regulations, starting from Europe and then to a certain extent being enforced also outside of Europe.
Okay, Paola, we're going to bring it home a little bit. I would like you to please share at a corporate level, if you can, what have been the main achievements of SGS in the fight against climate change?
Yeah, so with pleasure. I mean, climate change has been in our sustainability strategy since early stages. We are a carbon neutral company since 2014. That means that we have set our CO2 emissions since then on a yearly basis. We are aligned with the Science Based Target Initiative, and we were one of the first 100 companies of getting aligned with this. So it was a great success for us. And we have set ambitious programs internally to help us to reduce and drive down our CO2 emissions. For example, we have an energy efficiency in buildings program to identify energy measures across our facilities. We also have a vehicle emission policy that will drive down and transition to a low carbon fleet from our cars. But beyond this, one of the greatest added values of SGS is the CO2 emissions that we avoid putting in the atmosphere thanks to our services. For example, we have estimated that thanks to the ISO 50001 that we have implemented last year, we have avoided through our clients to emit 9 million tons of CO2 in the atmosphere. Or the vehicle, and when we test vehicles in our inspection of vehicles facilities, we are also avoiding to put in the atmosphere a huge amount of CO2 emissions. So the spread that SGS has in terms of climate change is not only reduced into our operations, but as well into our supply chain and our services. And this is very relevant for us because it's where we add and how we add value to society.
Amazing. You know, I've got another SGS kind of question, and that is that SGS plays an important role in the transition to a low carbon economy. So how is SGS helping its customers mitigate or adapt to climate change? I'd love for you to share with us a success story if you can, Francesca.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I mean, I could share more than one success story, but rather than praising one client to the detriment of another, I just want to highlight that all the solutions that we provide one way or the other supports our clients throughout their journeys, from the footprint of their carbon within their operations to value chains emissions, and also all the support in helping them understand where the major emission sources are, potentially helping them reduce their energy use, or assuring their sustainability reports, all the way to helping them more recently with the green bonds, for instance.
Jill, do you have something that you could maybe add to that?
Yeah, sure. I think like Francesca said, we're working with individual clients and bringing in a little bit of what Paula said on the value to society. I think it's a really interesting way to be looking at what impacts we have that are greater than just the company. And where I was before this role was at Bluesign Technologies, which is part of SGS. And what we looked at was a system-wide approach, and working with Paula's team a few years ago played into the value to society numbers and found that Bluesign itself was responsible for avoiding nearly 5 million tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. And we've also been able to track our system partners over the last 10 years and have seen a marked reduction of energy used, which plays straight into the GHG of the textile and apparel industry, going all the way back to chemical production. So that's been really exciting to see. Also, the cumulative impacts of looking at something with a roadmap and being diligent to it over time.
Francesca, she mentioned your name. Is there anything that you'd like to say?
Yeah, no, I think the example that Jill provided is actually an excellent showcase of the different things that we can do. And it is definitely one of those elements that we normally plot into, you know, a strategy for our clients to reach their targets.
And the other thing I think playing on that is the knowledge that we have, again, the breadth of it. We are able to do benchmarking, and we can tell our clients without it, that we can tell our clients in a frame that gives them time to figure out what their solutions are and tell the story outside to their customers. But they can benchmark against their competition and understand, are they doing better? Are they doing worse? Should they be doing better? Maybe they think they're okay. But there's actually places that they can improve.
Paola, I want to give you a chance to say something if you'd like, or I will move on. Do you have something you can add?
No, I mean, no, not really. I mean, my colleagues have said everything. And,
that's perfect.
Yeah.
I always think that when people get a chance to talk, that I don't want to leave the third person out.
No, don't worry. I think I
Okay.
introduced the topic, so it's okay.
Wonderful. And if you're just joining us, I'm speaking with 3 SGS sustainability subject matter experts about sustainability and climate change, Paola Ordonez, Jillgermain, and Francesca Cerchia. And don't forget, at the end of this interview, there will be time for a short Q&A. And if you're interested in sharing your question, please do so in the chat window below this screen. Okay. Francesca, I'm turning my attention back to you. Some of the industries that SGS serves are considered energy intensive. How does SGS help these companies transition to greener methods or greener models rather, or mitigate their negative effects on the environment?
Yeah, I think one of our strongest points is that SGS started verifying within the European Union emission trading schemes in 2005. So we're talking about more than 15 years ago. So imagine the 15 years of experience. And we started in 2005 for the pilot stage, which ran only for 2 years. And we verified energy intensive industries ever since. When we talk about energy intensive industries, obviously we refer to fundamentally iron, steel, cement, refineries, fertilizers. That means that we've really managed to understand exactly how those industries work and what can be done for them to dramatically reduce emissions. And emissions indeed have been reduced since 2005 quite significantly. However, it seems that they've sort of plateaued right now, and mainly because of technology. So I think, again, going back to what I mentioned earlier, technology today is a key, and potentially scaling up technology is one of those things that we really need to push forward in order to achieve those reductions in these energy intensive industries.
Amazing. Okay, I have one more question before we get into our Q&A. And remember, audience, if you would like to pose a question, please do so. Just drop it into our chat below this window. Okay, Paola, I'm going to ask Jill to weigh in on this as well, but I'm going to start with you. In your opinion, how important is employee engagement to fight against climate change? What type of initiatives does SGS organize to empower employees to take action?
So my answer is brutally very important. I think that every employee in any organization plays a key role to contribute positively to sustainability. When we go out of a meeting room and we turn off the lights, we are already contributing to reducing the carbon footprint of our organization. But moreover, it's very important because new generations are very keen on working for a sustainable company. It attracts and helps us to retain talent. So we have dedicated quite a lot of time, especially this year, on creating a culture of sustainability across the globe, across the SGS network. And we have invested time and efforts on doing internal campaigns. For example, for this COP26, we have organized an internal global contest. We have created a platform, which is a virtual SGS world, where employees could navigate the office and see where they could add value in terms of energy efficiency, for example. And we have encouraged them to participate in a contest for them to share with us how they are contributing to a low carbon economy. We have developed as well other type of contests, and we have created something that I'm very proud of, which is the rules from less. Less is our polar bear, which is the sustainability ambassador, and it's a set of rules that employees need to follow internally in order to be more sustainable at work and also in their houses.
Because, you know, it's a two-pronged solution. It's not just work. It is in their regular lives. So, Jill, I'm sure that you've got a couple of thoughts on this. So I'm going to turn it over to you for a second.
Sure. No, like Paula, I used to be in charge of an internal program in my former life. And what I see is the most powerful part of engaging employees, whether it's in their personal life and their professional life, is how that then translates and empowers them in their business life. And so they start to understand the issues. When clients start to bring it up to them, they're confident talking about it because they've explored it in their own space, whether it's, again, at home or in the office. And so I think as Paula has built this program internally, and now we're being asked more and more and more at every level in the organization to be able to speak to our clients about sustainability, it becomes part of their person. And what I've seen in the past is that it's really empowering to the employee to be able to do that.
Okay, who's ready for some questions? Hands up if you are.
Of course.
Okay, excellent. We're going to start with this first question that came in earlier. I want to know, in your opinion, which regions or countries are pioneering the development of climate change regulation? I'm going to start with you, Paola, and then Francesca, I'm going to get you to weigh in as well.
Sure. So recently, I mean, it's very obvious that Europe has made a step forward in terms of regulation. They have created the Green Deal, and that it's having a huge impact in regulation developments, especially related to climate change, because the Green Deal is aiming to become Europe to become carbon neutral by 2050. Okay, so this has involved the development of sub-regulations associated to that it's having a huge impact. But we don't have to forget that even if Europe is leading that, it will have a huge impact in supply chains across the globe, and this will impact other regions. I don't know, what do you think, Francesca? But
yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Yes, Europe is obviously planning on decarbonizing, and they've got the 2050 target. But however, a bulk of the policies and regulations that are coming into play will have a huge effect outside of Europe, mainly on a lot of products that Europe imports for their own industry. But we also see, I think, some positive signs from other geographies. So we know that in Asia Pacific, there are already quite a few countries that have included sustainability reporting and carbon reporting for local listed companies, which is positive. One of many, Malaysia, for instance. We know that China, after a lot of delays, have finally launched their carbon market. It's slightly different from ours. It doesn't really have a cap. It doesn't really have sanctions, but at least it's a start. We know that Russia as well is doing something, although it's a little bit unclear in terms of how that will concretely work. And I mean, and then there's California. Jill, you sitting in California, and you know that's the hope that we've got on the other side of the ocean. So if you've got, I'm sure you've got something to say on that.
No, I would just agree with what you both said, and especially that no matter who's leading it, it does impact the globe. And we've seen that clearer in the last 2 years with COVID, the connectivity of all the industries around the globe today. Companies aren't going to produce one product for Europe and one product for the US, or one product for California and one product for New York. So the legislation that's the toughest is going to dictate how products are produced no matter where they are, if it's a distribution that's happening globally.
You know what? We have a question from our audience, and I'm not sure who it's for. How to implement a real cultural change and prioritize sustainability as a fundamental principle when the leaders don't realize its importance, from Paulo Fernandez Barbosa. Who would like that?
I can take that.
I think Paola can take it.
Yeah, but I will say that my leaders really believe in sustainability, so that's something that it's very important. But at the end, if you are able to identify those aspects that are relevant for the organization, sustainability should not be costing to the organization, but adding to the organization. The problem is that there's a fundamental mistake of going left, right, and center with sustainability topics that maybe they are not even making any sense for our top leaders. But when you are able to provide with a material prioritization, that's a hard word, and you are able to demonstrate it, leaders follow. And I think that now it's already clear that sustainability is a must to have, and I don't think that so many people will question that in the coming future.
You know
You
what?
know,
That's
can I add a quick thing on there? Because like Paula, I've worked for organizations where the leaders do get it, but I have spoken to a lot of clients over the year where the leaders don't get it. And the person that is wanting to do something feels really stuck, that they don't have the leadership. But I also have worked with them over the years to look at what your job is. There's probably small steps you can take that they won't even know. And so you are starting to put your company on that journey that Paula just spoke about. That really is inevitable today, but it doesn't impact cost. It doesn't impact process. And that is one thing that I have found, that there's little steps that individuals can take within their jobs. And then the leaders are going to be happy when they start to hear it later. But it doesn't matter in the short term.
You know, it's lead by example. It doesn't matter at what level you're at in any company. Everybody can turn the lights off, right? So it's all about putting people on the journey and putting people in the mindset. Speaking of mindset, okay, the world's attention has been focused recently on Glasgow and COP26. So can you share anything? I'm going to go to you, Jill, for this last question. Can you share anything that has captured your attention?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I'm encouraged by, and again, sitting in California in the US, the world knows the US has not been the biggest fan of this work in the last few years. So I'm happy we're at the table, back at the table and showing up there. I think that's number one. But then also what I'm encouraged by is sometimes in these big gatherings, especially global ones, you start to realize like what's really happening. It's a big show. There's a lot, a lot of attention, a lot of fanfare. But one thing that has really stuck out, and Francesca alluded to it earlier, talking about the regulation potential coming forward with methane. And I think carbon is something people are starting to understand, or at least recognize the term. But methane is one of the most potent greenhouse gases. And there have been attempts to gain commitments around, or get countries to sign on to a commitment around methane. And now at Glasgow, they've actually made a lot of progress. I think it was like 9 or 10 countries in September. And now there's over 90 countries that have signed on to this methane commitment. So I think by showing up, and then to peer pressure, if you will, I mean, peer pressure from country to country is powerful, and starting to see an example of what can be done if a commitment is made.
You know what? So much to consider, so much to learn about sustainability and climate change and solutions. My thanks to experts Paola Ordonez, Jillgermain, and Francesca Cerchia for joining me today to talk about this important topic. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you, PJ.
Thank you. Take care. Stay safe.
And for our audience, I know that a tremendous amount of information has been shared today, and we are delighted that you were able to join us and be a part of it. Don't forget that if you wish to learn more, please feel free to comment below. And of course, you can visit our website at www.sgs.com. I'm PJ Kwong for SGS Live. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.